you can't help but think about how Biden is there's no other way to describe the involvement with the United States into this conflict leading up to war, by the way, where Biden should have said, something, it's not our conflict. Here we are. We have so many problems in the United States, and we just need to focus on our own people. And so, we're backing out of any type of conversations involving Russia and the Ukraine. And the only words that can describe a president like that, similar to Bush, by the way, is just some meddling, dumb-ass bitch. Okay? The problems here in this country are so huge and nobody's addressing them. It takes me back a long time ago, long before any of this mess ever occurred here. It takes me back to And I had a brother. His name is Haya. And I held his position way up north. And I was so focused on the earth and the cosmic collision that occurred that caused life to go off balance, that he was so focused on the earth that he would put earth-like objects in certain places throughout all this land. The Western Hemisphere and all the people that were here operated under I. And Haya was focused on the animals because the animals held knowledge about what had transpired during those times. And to simmer their blood to gain a better understanding, he worked more closely to the animals. And they would come together, the two of them, I and Haya, and they would discuss what they were both working on. Now, I could see from a far distance. And so if he put earth-like objects in certain places, and people even came close in proximity to those earth-like objects that he put in these certain places, he would start, what are they doing near these things that I'm working on? And so he would call his brother up. And one time he calls Haya into the room and he said, I need you to go down there and have a conversation with these people. They're getting too close to my earth-like objects. And tell them that, explain why they have to stay away from these things. And Haya was like, okay, I'll go, we'll go down there and talk to him. So he's just about ready to leave the room, and I says, hold on, you're going to need this. And he pulls up a snake, a red snake, and he lays it on the table. And just as he lays it on the table, the snake makes this impression with its body in the form of an S. And so Haya takes the snake and he carries it down quite a distance. And he meets up with this group of people as he was instructed and guided by his brother. And he says, my brother says you're coming close to his Earth-like objects, and these are the reasons why you need to stay away from these things. And they're like, we understand. Okay, so who are the people that went near these Earth-like objects? And they're forbidden to go near these. And so they said, we'll identify them and we'll send you a message back after we identify them. And so Haya left the red snake with these people. And just as he, like his brother, laid the red snake on the table, the snake again made the impression of the letter S. And then Haya recognized that and left the room. Shortly after that, these people sent the message back up, not delivering the snake, they held the snake, but they delivered 5 letters. First, the one in the form of a snake, which was the S, because that's what was left with them. Then they put the letter I to acknowledge that they received the snake or the orders from I. Followed by the O. They identified these people and they put them in a hole, like they're a holding pattern. Followed by the U. They're sending the message back up to the Huron. Followed by the X. The X stands for it will never happen again. And so the message came up SIOUX, and it was delivered up to I. And I accepted it. And so he labeled the people who had sent the message up to him as the Sioux. And he said, all this land below this line, anything above the line, is where my Earth-like objects they need to stay where they are. Anything below the land, I want these people to hold that land for me. And I want them to be called the Sioux. That land that he carved out at that time, that was pretty much the territory known as the United States as we stand today. He didn't give them the land. He said, I want it to be held under the Sioux. And that was the original making of the house. The floorboards of the house held closely by the Sioux for I. I hope I'm making some impression to you, Biden. Because when you go to war, when you make a decision to engage in conflicts that do not have any impact on you, you are making people here in this country accountable for a decision that you're making, and you're putting lives at stake. Those things that you're doing, engaging in conflicts that really have nothing to do with us. I don't care if you did allow through immigrations some Ukrainian people. We didn't make those decisions. Somebody else did. We're not going to carry the weight of whatever decision that you're making involving Russia. And nothing for nothing, Russia is occupied by Russians. They're standing on their land. Am I making any type of sense here? Russia is heavily occupied by Russians. They have stood there throughout all this time. Their blood is whole. Do you understand what I'm saying there, Biden? The movement they make will be a stronghold. And nothing for nothing, I picked up some signals not too long ago, a few years ago. I'm pretty sure Putin's ancestral blood is sitting on this land somewhere in New York. So if anything, you want to engage in something, why don't you dig up some of these graves, put them on a boat, and ship them to Russia? We don't need any more shit here, okay? So many problems. This country's got so many problems. It would never be fixed. Not in a year, not in 100,000 years of problems here. I. Shared combination of blood between I and Haya. Thanksgiving, the turkey. Some people just know their ancestors. I don't even have to flip through the pages of any fucking books. All I have to do is touch the earth.